Hi, Lisa.
Rock and roll.
Rock it out.
Rock it out. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is Max and Lisa show, and we're going to be talking today about guilt. And I'm going to be reading some questions here from Facebook. And I guess I just wanted to start in just letting you guys know who we are. And I met Max in 2001, back when I moved to Wisconsin. Max is from Australia, and he's currently in Australia now. And it was love at first sight when we met, right, Max?
Totally. Yeah.
Totally.
It was
And
love at first sight.
Max and I have a deep love for A Course in Miracles, and we would meet in Starbucks for years and years. And then when we moved apart, he moved back to Australia, and I stayed in Wisconsin for a little bit. I'm in Maine right now. And we started having these telephone calls back in the day, back in 2009, when people were still doing telephone calls and not video calls like this. And I remember the calls would be so good that I wish that we could record them. And we made a joke, we called it the Max and Lisa show. And then we did start recording them. And we probably have hundreds of different shows that we've done over the years. And we just decided to try this format out today on Facebook Live. And we were talking in a private call a few days ago about guilt. And I guess, Max, if you want to start, you're the one who came up with the idea to do this today. So what was your idea about it?
What was my idea? I guess my idea is that guilt is the driving force behind a lot of our problems, a lot of our perceived problems. Guilt is the driving force behind, in some ways, behind depression, behind telling yourself, it should be a different way, or you're making a decision and you think it's wrong, so you experience the guilt of that. Experiencing guilt in a relationship with, say, some of the questions there, like with family members or with your partner. You experience guilt fundamentally for no reason, but you're having an experience of guilt. You don't have guilt, you're having the experience of it, and you don't know necessarily what to do with it. You want to resolve it out there. Like I'm experiencing guilt in this relationship because I said or did something, or they said and did something and made me feel guilty. So you think you can resolve it out there, but that's really not where the crux of it is. You may, if it's a relationship or if it's with somebody or a family member, you may make amends, but the amends are just for you mentally. So when you look at the guilt, this is really important because a lot of time we don't want to look at stuff. We don't want to look at our problem. It seems too scary, or you're scared of what you'll find there. You think it'll be too painful, but it's actually more painful not to look at it because it persists with you like a sore. So, the idea of looking at guilt, initially, it can be tough, but once you turn to it and see it for what it really is, you're going to see it dissipate in a way that allows you to experience relationships and your own life in a completely different way.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's important what you said is that most people just feel guilty and then try to fix it outside of themselves rather than just looking at the guilt and recognizing it's something that you actually can do something about it. Like I loved your one-liner that I bring up a lot over the years, guilt is the killer. Of course, says that guilt is always disruptive. And you and I were talking a few days ago about your friend who's going to be doing that workshop, and he's had health issues, and he's invited you to come talk about guilt. And we were talking about David Hawkins and how he says that all sickness comes from unconscious guilt. And I love how Jesus in A Course in Miracles says that we can just let it go. Like once you see these things, like and I love what you say also, Max, like in the past, you called it a point of viewing. Like we don't have a point of view. We have a point of viewing, the point from which we locate ourselves and view ourselves in the world. And when we have that point of viewing as fear, all you can experience there is guilt. And so it really is, to me, it's just something that can be looked at. Once you see it, this is my experience, it just goes. You actually don't even have to do anything about it. But you have to really become aware of it.
I think that's really, really important, is your awareness of it. Guilt is the killer in the sense it can make you sick because you're resisting this idea. And I think that unconscious guilt, for whatever reason, again, it's the simplicity of you're not really doing anything about it. You're just seeing it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're in your own point of viewing, like I'm looking out, to the computer screen and out into my world. And so this is where I view everything. So, I'm viewing everything as a duality because I see stuff. I see, everything in this room. And, the Course in Miracles is based around those early lessons, which is, how do you see things really? Nothing I see means anything. That chair doesn't mean anything. So now you're looking at a non-dualistic way of looking at something, even though you're still seeing it from your point of viewing. It's coming from your own perception. So, and guilt is the same thing. When you take back that power, guilt is not something that's happening to you. Guilt is almost like a choice you made to experience something like that, like guilt in a situation. So, can I go to a question here?
Yep, I'm looking at the chat board, so I've got lots of people online, and we got some comments here. Let's see them. I see Giovanna, Jean, Jerry, Eli's, Bill. Let's see. I'm not seeing.
I was gonna.
You guys have any questions or anything? But you said you see one.
Yeah, I got one here. Guilt about not resolving with mum before she died of cancer. Knowing in ways she brought it on because of beliefs. Guilt about not healing to be there for family and create friendships and community, being victim. So guilt about not resolving something with your mother before she died of cancer. Okay, I'll just go to my own experience. Like I looked after my mother for about 18 months when she was on her way out. And she had lung cancer. And I had an experience with her over that period of time where I just let her be herself, basically. And, we do, like I do have, you could say I have unresolved issues with my mother, but there's nothing I need to do about them because I was just there with her in that moment, having the experience of looking after her, and it was just a lovely thing. And whatever I think about whatever, why didn't you do this for me when I was little, or why didn't you do that, or couldn't you have done this? Like I could say all those things, and of course she could say things to me as well. But what point is that? How is that experience going to fulfill our relationship in the moment where she is on her way out and we're just experiencing life together? There's nothing that will be resolved because I know this is what I know to be true, and I could be completely wrong, but everybody's doing the best they can with the information they have. I've been blessed because I've been through the Course of Miracles. I've seen a different picture, and I can see that people operate out of what they think they know, and that's the best that they can do. So any unresolved issues like that, I understand that it doesn't have anything to do with her. It doesn't have anything to do with what I didn't get, except that I think I didn't get something that I wanted. And I can make her guilty for it. Or I could also experience guilt that maybe I didn't look after her well enough while she was on her way out. But none of that is true because that's not my experience. So I've changed my point of viewing to one of including simply the present moment where I am right now. Whatever I think about the past has nothing to do with me right now in this moment.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question too, because she basically says guilt about not resolving with mom before she died of cancer, knowing in ways she brought it on because of belief. So this is what happens a lot in spiritual circles, like that there's the idea, and it's true, but that the world that you're experiencing is coming from your beliefs. But then what often can happen is we move our point of viewing from ourselves to the other guy. Like, oh, that other guy over there is experiencing whatever, depression or sickness or sadness because of his beliefs.
Right.
And the guilt of even in non-spiritual circles where a person might think, well, my son or my daughter died because of their drugs and I didn't do anything, or I could have been there more, or I could have helped more, or maybe I should have said something, or maybe I should have given them money when they asked for money, or maybe I should have and then it says guilt about not healing to be there for family and create friendships and community being a victim. So to me, the only thing that needs to be seen is the guilt, which can only be experienced in the person experiencing it. So that's it. And, in the past, I remember about forgiveness. I thought, give me a good reason for forgiveness. I don't really care about, peace and love and joy and holding hands. And I don't know, it wasn't enough of a reason for me back then, where I just thought, let's all get along together and let's all forgive each other and let's all just be in love. Like, it all sounded just way too flowery for me, and peace on earth. It just sounded like a concept. But when I got it, that my unforgiveness was the thing that was making me sick and depressed and sad and tired and angry, I was done with it in a day. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm doing it to myself. And then from that place, it's my experience is that that's when the real work begins. Like anything that's a loose thread or a residual, something buried in me starts moving. It starts coming to the surface for me to see. And so to me, like that's an easy one in my mind, because it's just a decision to say, okay, enough of that. Like, okay, that's enough of that. Like I don't need to keep attacking myself. Like, Kirsten, thank you for posting that, because you did the best you can. And that's what Max was just saying. We're all doing the best we can. Your mom, she did the best she could. Even if she was holding beliefs about herself, she's doing the best she could. And so now we're just recognizing, okay, like I can shift to a location of love and gratitude and appreciation. And in that, guilt just disappears. It's because it really can be done within in a day.
In a moment. yeah, and each moment's new. Just on that, she brought it on because of beliefs. I think the trap is to start analyzing other people and their beliefs.
Mm.
There's a trap in that where we can sort of go, well, oh, okay, she's guilty because she brought that on with her beliefs, or he's guilty because he believes this thing, and it's and now he's sick. But we don't know what's going on anywhere at any time. Like, our knowledge is extremely limited, and we certainly don't know what's going on with another person. The best I can do from from my point of viewing is to say that everybody's doing the best they can with the information that they have. Whether that person has beliefs or not is and brings on a sickness, it is not in my realm of understanding, unless somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got cancer, and I think I brought it on with these beliefs. Well, then then you have some sort of opening where you might be able to have a look at things. But to look at somebody and decide what it is for them is a bit of a trap. So we're just really looking at our own. And remember, even with beliefs aren't the truth. Beliefs are just ideas that we have. They're based on our point of viewing. They're based on an experience that we had where somebody said something and we developed a belief about it. And it could be something just, innocuous. Could be anything just small, so that your father said to you when you were 5, and he possibly didn't even mean it the way he said it, but you experienced it in a certain way, and now you've developed a belief around it. Now that belief will persist and persist and persist. Now it sort of has its own energy, and when you decide to remove the energy from that belief and I guess replace it with another idea, which is another belief, then it becomes that old belief becomes a concept rather than a way of experiencing life. So you've left it behind, and now you've replaced it with a new idea. So
well,
always
we have another one that's very similar to this one. Jerry says, guilt that I could not do anything to stop my 25-year marriage from ending. So it's the same idea. Like, I could have done something differently that could have caused a different outcome. And that's the part where I really have come to know that the best thing to do is release all attachment to all outcome. Because that's really what this work is really being in the flow. And yeah, you maybe could have done something differently, but when you look at it honestly, wouldn't you just rather things unfold? Like, that's how it is for me. Like, and I'm speaking from deep experience, being a person who lived in New York City for a while and did everything by making it happen. That I was somebody who could make stuff happen, hold it together, make it go the way I want it to go. And the result of that was alcoholism, addiction, depression, overwhelm, sadness, worry, guilt, blame, judgment, complaining. I mean, because we're not meant to live that way. We're fluid, we're pure light. We're not meant to hold on and make things happen, but that's what we do here in time and space. Where if we can just let go of our attachment to the outcome and recognize, I love what she said one time, Max. I'm going to see if I can get this right. Like, you said something like, do you want to know what you asked for? Look around you. And I always remember that, because that's the truth. Like, if I can look around me, so if my 25-year marriage has ended, or a family member is no longer in my physical experience, either they've moved away or passed away, okay, must be what I want. Okay, well, then if that's the case, then I can be happy. And I don't know, that just brings me total freedom, and it brings me a great sense of ease because years ago I recognized I'm not going to control anything anymore. I'm really just going to let go and just let things flow as they're meant to.
Hmm. Just on that, Jerry, 25-year marriage. Yeah, there's a really good, a hilarious routine by Louis C.K. and he talks about divorce and how exactly that. You've made a good decision. You've decided that you're not happy. He's not happy. She's not happy. And you're in this relationship that's unhappy and it's not working. And everything you try to do to force it to work, to fit into a box, is not working. So you've decided to let it go. And in that letting go is an incredible gift, an incredible relief. I'm sure you're not experiencing that right now because you're experiencing that idea of guilt, and you could have done better, you could have done more, you you could have done it in totally different ways. That may be so, but that's gone. You're in this space now where anything is possible, and to let go of something, like if you were carrying a heavy burden and you put it down, if you were carrying a heavy rucksack full of rocks and you took it off your shoulders, you would be happy. You would be relieved. There would be relief there. You would be thankful that you just dumped this, thing that was just dragging you down. So, and all the emotions that go with, divorce and a 25-year marriage, sure, but there's a point where you need to start to allow yourself to heal from it and see it in a completely different way. And that's possible. And of course you will, because time is the great healer, and time allows you that possibility to see it differently. So if you wallow in the idea of what you could have done better, you'll recognize that's never going to happen. You just keep wallowing in the same thing. It's not like I could have done this better, and then you can go back and in time and do it better. No, you're here now, and in this moment, everything is possible. There's all probabilities may occur, and this is one of them. And there's a point where you can start to recognize that you're not guilty. You haven't done anything wrong. Every day, every morning when you wake up, you have a completely clean slate. And this is the situation that you're in. So here you are. This is where you find yourself. How do you want to move? How do you want to vibrate from this place?
I had a friend, she was a girlfriend, a friendship of mine, and a very dear friend of mine, but it was for a long time very conflictual. And we did break up almost. It almost was like a divorce, even though we were just friends. And I remember feeling so upset about the loss of that friendship and just feeling like, and we tried for a long time to make it work. It just wasn't working. And then finally we had this, it was a pretty bad breakup really for a friend, as far as friends go. And I remember feeling, all right, I'm just doing the work here, spiritual work, taking responsibility and feeling happy, like really saying, okay, I have to really let this go. And time did pass. And then all of a sudden it came back together in a completely new way. Like it really was a surprise. I didn't expect it. I didn't try to make it happen. It just, and so that's the beautiful part about being in the flow. Like even if a marriage ended, if it's meant to be, it'll just flow back together again. It does. And in that sense, like the other thing I love that you said, Max, is draw your circle and see what comes into it. And that's been a practice I use because of my past tendency of being a control freak and trying to make everything happen, making phone calls and sending letters and doing this and doing that, and draw my circle and see what comes into it. And when you first told me that, I did that literally. Like I thought, I'm not making a single phone call I'm just going to see what happens. And now, of course, the flow is much easier where I'll just be making phone calls without any thought whatsoever. But for a moment, I said, I'm going to see what happens. What would happen if I didn't make anything try to happen? And the ego mind goes crazy at first with that because it just thinks everything's going to fall apart. Like if I don't do everything and hold my job together and my relationship, it's all going to be chaos. But that's not with my experience. My experience was like things would fall away. Things that really were not working would just fall away from me with no effort. And then new things started to come to me, new people, new things. And so it's more like an availability to life, really, is what it is.
It's an opening to what is possible. Like the idea of, I draw my circle, and if it comes into my circle, if it doesn't come in, I don't need it. If it comes in, then you can look at it and go from there. Like I have a tendency to force things, so I'm always looking at that idea in my own mind. But I don't want to force things to happen, or I just like they will happen anyway, and I can ride that wave. Like I was out in the surf today. I went out really early in the morning, about 5:30, and it was so beautiful out there. It was just stunning. And riding a wave works best when you're not forcing it. The wave will take you because that's what a wave does. So the ones where I wiped out this morning, there was a couple where I was trying to force my way onto the wave, and I just was completely discombobulated, and I was going left when I should have been going right, and so it was that in that forcing that it just didn't work. But the nicest waves I got today were the ones where, well, here it comes. I'm paddling, and I'm in the zone. I'm in the right spot, and off it goes. And now the wave is taking me, and it's the most awesome experience. And it's a metaphor for life, really. And we see a lot of stuff like on Facebook, like sayings, and live the your best self, and live this incredible life, and then you look at your own life and you go, well, I'm not, I just like sitting around in front of the fire or going for a surf. That is my incredible life. Why does it have to be this idea of this magnificent thing? I mean, there's other people doing that for me, like like Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper are living that life for me, and that's perfectly fine because that's not me. My best potential is realized in allowing things to just flow and seeing what comes into my circle and utilizing that. And if I try to force things, like I said, about surfing, I find it doesn't work for me. Yet, because I'm human, I keep trying to force things, but it never works. So I always have to bring myself back to that place of awareness, of recognizing my own experience and where I am at in that moment.
Yep, exactly. We have another one. We have somebody, I don't know what the question is. If you guys have any questions or you want to put any things you'd like to hear us discuss, just post it in the comments. Someone says wanting a divorce. So I don't know if she means there's guilt around that. And we have another one from a guy named John. Raised in a restrictive Christian tradition, guilt was seen as good and true dynamic simply because all humans were flawed or sinful, and God was somehow dissatisfied with humanity. When guilt is seen as a spiritual requirement, that is so strange to me because I didn't grow up in a church, so this doesn't make any sense to me personally, but I get it. Like I get that a lot of people grow up this way, that guilt is seen as a spiritual requirement. It seems hard to surrender from that limited perspective. And I like, John, that you say it's a limited perspective. That's the point of viewing.
Mm.
And it's the personal point of viewing. It's the limited self-identity perspective. And that can only be identification as a body, an age, a color, a nationality. You say raised in a restrictive Christian tradition. So that's the point of viewing of the self, that is a body that has a name and a birth date and a death date or a future in front of oneself. Like this is also interesting to me personally, because it becomes like a little happy game that I play where I can really see, okay, who's talking here? Lisa, the person, the personality, the body? Or is it more coming from the light and the love? And so I like the words you're using, John, because you noticed it already from that limited perspective. Guilt is a requirement on the spiritual path. So you already know that is a limited location. And it's like any bad neighborhood, you can just decide you don't want to live there anymore. When you can really see the surroundings of where you're hanging out. I remember I used to be alcoholic and I would hang out in the bars all the time at night, and all sorts of bad stuff would happen. Like I would just like run with the wrong crowd and just do crazy stuff. And one day it just became logical. I don't want to live this life anymore. And I stopped hanging out in the bars. Like I just stopped going into the liquor store. I stopped walking through that door. And to me, that's really what it is when you start looking at different emotions or attitudes. You can just recognize, like, that's a neighborhood I don't want to hang out in anymore. And I don't have to. I like how many times A Course in Miracles talks about the word decision. Guilt is a decision. Sickness is a decision. It's a decision to be as we are not. And now we choose a new decision. Like I'm choosing for truth and life. Like that's my decision. My decision is to remember the truth of what I am. And Bill and I, my husband, he's downstairs. Maybe he'll pop in. Love you, babe. He might be watching. We were talking this morning about how you don't actually move the point, because that's a doing again. That's the personal ego self-identity that decides it wants a better experience and then it's going to move to the center, it's going to move within. That's not how it works. It's in the stillness that you are moved. And even that's not true. Like light can't be moved, but that's a little bit closer, where you just have a willingness to see things differently and there's movement. What do you think, Max?
You see things differently and there's movement. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. You see things the same and there's movement. So either or, you're at that fork in the road each time. I like John's question because he sort of answered it himself with the idea that it has a limited perspective. And you probably want a broader perspective where you can see more of the vista, more of what's going on. Raised in a restrictive Christian tradition, yeah, but you're not there now. You're here, and like, I mean, you look at like you take something. If you're looking at it, you look at the Catholic Church, and you say, "Oh, money's good because they got a lot of it. They got a lot of gold. They got the Vatican City. They got the most incredible museum with squillions of dollars of works of art. So you know they're not guilty. They don't experience guilt about having all that money." they're in their own experience of this is okay, you know. So guilt is a requirement on the spiritual path. I would say that there is really no spiritual path that you're on. You're in an experience of yourself in each moment, and you can decide to be aware of what's happening to you, or you cannot. And so the idea of a path going towards, let's say, enlightenment, I think is a little, in my mind, is a little bit false, because enlightenment is only the recognition. It's a recognition of who you really are. And then you, in a sense, need do nothing to be who you really are. And when you start to do stuff, you going back to, trying to force issues. I'll force myself into meditation until I get this right. I'll force, I've seen guys, like really try to get enlightened and be something else. And you look at guys around, like you look at, like you compare yourself. So you compare yourself to like a movie star, or you compare yourself to Muji. What's the difference? And you think that he's some special enlightened guy, but he's not. He's just a guy talking. And he's in the same experience as you, based on the idea that he's willing to be aware of what's happening around him, and he's willing to be in the present moment, and he's not fooled by appearances. So there's nothing special in that. It's available to you in this moment, and there's no path that you can go on which you will get to somewhere where your wings will sprout and you'll disappear, because it's almost like, in the Course of Miracles puts it this way. It says, the mind that thought of this idea is already back at home in heaven. So if that's true, God gave answer to the separation in the moment that it occurred. If that's true, then what is this? Then this is the residual idea. And I'm part of that residual idea. The mind that experiences non-duality is not even here. It's not in this existence. So what collapses in the idea of waking up is also me, and disappears because it is already gone. So I don't need to strive to wake up and then be here and say, I don't know, be a guru or something like that. When time collapses, it takes this time, which is me as a body, with it. And I could be completely wrong about that, but that's my experience in my own awareness.
I remember years ago, you and I were sitting in a Starbucks in Wisconsin, and I remember it was during a time when I felt things were not working for me and I had no money. You probably bought me my coffee, as you often did. And you said to me, Natoli, this is as good as it gets. And then you started laughing. And I remember right. Because we have an idea of what good is supposed to look like, but this is it. You just said that. Like, this is it. And the ego mind, the fear-based mind, just thinks, no, this can't be it. Like, I'm going to have more money, and I'm going to heal the body, and I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to go do great things, and I'm going to do something later. And that's the trap. Like, when you really recognize everything you've been seeking for and you want is actually available right here in this moment. And what Bill and I were talking about this morning was everything happens in the stillness. Like, that's the place. I like that you brought up, Max, about meditation, because I see it a lot, people trying to get somewhere. I'm going to have a 20-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 90-minute meditation. But they're trying to like accomplish something. And I see more comments. I had to refresh the page, so sorry guys, I didn't see all these. I saw Share was on here. I'm like, these comments are, they kind of like disappear as soon as they are up. So I will see here. Bill says, we are always in the same placeless place. It's the mind that interprets. Oh, that one just disappeared too. I don't know why the comments are disappearing and I can't see them on my iPad.
I see this one.
Anyways, Bill says, I'm not happening. You are not happening. LOL. I see that one.
I see this one. It says, how do I hold on to this truth, freedom? I forgot, and boom, or something happens, a trigger. Yeah, that's what life is. You don't need to hold on to it. You just need to open your awareness to the possibility that you can see it when it happens. Like there's nothing to hold on to. There's no freedom that you can hang on to and put it in a case and carry it around with you. Like there's only your awareness. There's only your awareness of the present moment. There's nothing for you to hang on to. It's okay to forget. You're not guilty because you forgot. Oh, I forgot for a minute and I just found myself forcing this issue and I'm forcing it and I'm forcing it. Oh, I forgot. Oh, okay. Well, I'll start again. Well, am I starting at the beginning? Who cares? I'm here. I'm right here. This is the moment. This is the only moment that it's occurring. So I have the ability to remember, and everything is a practice. You know, you're just practicing these moments. You're practicing these moments of being present. You're practicing the moments of your own freedom. And then you forgot. Oh, okay. And now I'm back. And then I forgot. Oh, okay. Now I'm back. So, you know, don't try to hang on to anything. That idea will make you guilty because you'll experience an idea that, oh, I'm not free enough, or, you know, or I forgot. So, you know, I must not be very good at this, whatever this is. All it is just life. This is you. Here you are. Now, in this present moment, anything is possible. All probabilities are available to you. And you can find that in anything that you do at any time. And it's easy to get lost because, you know, we're about our day. And being about our day means we're doing stuff in the world in a dual sense. And so it's easy to just disappear back into the world. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what life is. Here you are. So, yeah, don't try to.
Well, I love that idea, though. That is such a good idea. Like we're disappearing. You said it like we're disappearing back into the world. But what if we didn't pick up our timeline anymore? Like, is that possible? Is it possible, like that? I loved what you said earlier, Max, that time is collapsing. But see, because we make time sequential with our story and our grievances and our resentments and our resistance, and I love that you said we keep picking the story up. But what if we didn't do that? Like, and that to me was the challenge given to me. Like, just don't pick it up anymore. Like, I remember the master teacher, who was one of our teachers when we were in Wisconsin, he said, you just got here today and you're leaving tonight. And he was speaking to the truth of what you are. Like, I, spirit, just got here today and I'm leaving tonight. Can we actually live in that way? And I know the mind starts going all crazy. Well, I have bills to pay. I can't live like that. That's totally irresponsible. You actually can, because you will be informed if there's anything to do. If there's a bill to pay, you will be paying it. And if there's something to do, you will be doing it. And somebody asked, Eli says, very well said, Max, love. And how does one hold on to this truth and freedom? I forget, or boom, or something happens, a trigger, and boom. That one's for you, Max.
Well, that's what I was just going over, that idea that you try to hang on to it. Like, you don't need to hang on to anything here. Just as Lisa just said, just let it, you know, you're paying a bill, you've got a job, you haven't got a job, you get a job, you need to pay this bill, you need to do that thing. Like, you just go about your business. You don't have to pick up the story around it. Like, there's an idea that something great happened to me, and now I'll tell you a story about why that great thing happened to me. It was a miracle, and it's because, you know, of this sequence of events that led up to it. Well, if that's the case, then now you're stuck with an idea of repetition. Okay, if I do that again, then this will occur. Whereas really, once you're in the awareness of just being present and seeing yourself, then you're just allowing things to unfold. and they will unfold because they must. And you don't have to tell a story behind it. This is why this happened to me, because I experienced this idea of guilt and then I got sick, or that person has these beliefs and then she got sick. I don't know if any of that is true or not. All I know is where I am right now. And even that is a limited understanding.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for in my own mind is a peace of mind that doesn't allow me, a peace of mind that allows me to be in the moment and not ruminate over old ideas and old ways of thinking. Um,
Yeah.
and that is possible each and every moment. And that's not, and that, goes back to not picking up. I'm not going to pick up that drink. I'm going to operate from a totally different place. So don't try to hang on to anything.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I had no money and I was complaining that I had no money. And you just matter of fact said to me, get a job. And it was that simple. Like, so often we have so many spiritual ideas of whatever, and it's much simpler than that. And I remember that story too. You told me one time about that guy who searched the world over for enlightenment, and he went to all these teachers and gurus, and he just dedicated his whole life to finding enlightenment. And then one day he was sitting in his living room in a chair in front of the fire. You remember the story?
Yep.
And he just was like, oh, like the simplicity of what we're looking for, it was always here. Like you just said, peace of mind. That's what all of us want. That's what we're actually wanting. We think we want health or better relationships or more money. We all just want the freedom to just be and feel that freedom and feel that peace and that joy. So that's the collapse of time, when we can really recognize, oh, it's right here. I could just go sit quietly for however long I feel like it.
Yeah. He just had an experience of, after years and years of struggling and trying to find it, I just like sitting here. And then whoppo, that was a realization in his own mind that he need do nothing. It's available to him and to me and to you each and every moment. And if we can find that place to live in that experience, then whatever you think you didn't do or did do, you won't be guilty for. That'll just be an interesting idea. Oh, I could have, like, I look at my own, let's say I look at my relationship from over 20 years ago now. I had a big house in Sydney, 4-bedroom house, a partner, a daughter, and my life seemed meaningless. I was very depressed, and there was a meaninglessness to everything, even though I had everything. And so when I look back on that idea, how that relationship ended, and oh, I could have done better, I could have done it differently, I could have, and then when I think like that, then I also think like, oh yeah, but if that happened, then this wouldn't have happened, and this wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't have discovered A Course in Miracles, and I wouldn't have been on this. So like, you think you can force time into a box where you can say, if I had done this, then this would have occurred. You have absolutely no idea what would have occurred. You'd be on a completely different timeline, and it's not even something we can discuss in a way of knowing. So all those ideas of woulda, shoulda, coulda are just not of any value. All you get out of it is the idea of guilt, and guilt is the killer. Guilt will eat at your mind. So you need to look squarely at it and ask yourself, what is it really that's going on? What do I really want underneath all of that? What is my experience right now? And if you can look at it squarely, it will no longer have the energy and the power and the hold over you which it once had. and it will dissipate, and all you're left with is the freedom of mind, this peace of mind, because being guilty or experiencing guilt is not conducive to peace of mind. It will eat at you. So look at it squarely and see it for what it is. You have done nothing. You have a clean slate. You can start right now.
That's it. You have a clean slate. You can start right now.
That's it.
That's actually a good place to end. You guys who know us, we love A Course in Miracles. It's right here. And I always highly encourage anyone who likes these ideas to go buy a copy and just do what it says. There's a great section in here in chapter 5 called The Ego's Use of Guilt. And it says, guilt is always disruptive. I mean, period. Anything that engenders fear is divisive because it obeys the laws of division. And it says, in heaven, there is no guilt. That's a state of mind, because the kingdom is attained through the atonement which creates it in you. The word create is appropriate here because once what you have made is undone by the Holy Spirit, the blessed residue is restored and therefore continues in creation. What is truly blessed, which would be you listening, is incapable of giving rise to guilt and must give rise to joy. This makes it invulnerable to the ego because its peace is unassailable. It is invulnerable to disruption because it is whole. So it's really great because it describes the whole human condition in here, you know, fear of retaliation. I loved what you said one time too, Max, where people said, I don't hear the voice. I don't hear the voice for God. And you said, why do you need to hear it? Just read it. It's all right in here in a book.
Exactly. You're already
like it's all, you don't have to like sit and struggle against anything. Like everything you've ever wanted to remember is right before you. And all you have to do is really just say, okay, I'm in. I want this to be a new beginning, a clean slate.
Yeah. Somebody just wrote about the idea that, you know, I wish it wasn't always so much of a roller coaster. You know, okay, well, I would just say, start right now. Get off the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Let the roller coaster ride without you. You know, let other people buy the ticket and go on the roller coaster. You don't have to join in with the roller coaster. You make the decision.
Yeah.
And you can start right now and make that decision now and just see what unfolds. Just don't get caught up in the roller coaster. Let it ride. Let it go without you. It's riding right now. Like at Luna Park, the roller coaster is running and I'm not on it. So what's the difference?
Yep.
But make a decision. You can make a decision. Lisa's hair is especially beautiful this evening.
Oh,
that's lovely.
It's growing. I'm so sorry I can't see all the comments here. It's I see a lot of people online and I'm grateful for you all being here. But for some odd reason, I only can see 5 comments at a time and they disappear.
Yeah,
can
so
you
do mine.
Max?
No, I just see the same. They just sort of scroll through.
I mean, I'm sure I'll see them all when we get offline and I'll go scrolling for them. Let me just click one more button and see.
Would you say a bit more about drawing the circle? I guess the idea that we're getting at is, here I am in my bubble or in my experience of myself, and does what I want come into my circle and appear for me? If it doesn't, then I don't need to necessarily strive hard or force myself to get it. It's an idea of not forcing something, trying not to force myself to like get something. Like this morning when I'm on the wave, I forced myself onto a wave and it completely failed. And when I allowed that wave to come into my circle, because I was in the exact right spot and the wave was in the exact right spot, then we were in tune and everything just flowed along. and I was riding with it. So I just allow yourself to see if you're trying to force something into existence, or you're just allowing it to come to you in a way that is more flowing, more free.
Exactly. And that's just way more interesting. That's just
I don't
a
know.
way more interesting way to live life. Like, just see what happens.
Yeah,
Right.
you're going to do stuff anyway. Like, you're going to, the vibration's going to move me off this lounge. This talk we're having is going to end. I'm going to, make another cup of coffee or not. I'm going to do other things. Like, the vibration is going to move me anyway. My body is going to move. My mind is going to move. So I don't want to force it into a course of action.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I thank you, Max, for being here. As always, you're brilliant.
You are.
Hey, are you watching that new television show called the Designated Survivor on Netflix?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I saw the first episode a while ago and I didn't like it.
Oh, really? It's so good. Bill and I are addicted to it.
You know what I'm watching?
What?
The Good Place.
What is it?
The Good Place with Kirsten, with I can't even remember her name. Kristen Bell, and Ted Danson. It's hilarious.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Jason, the guy who plays Jason, is hilarious, and it's about these people who die and go to the good place. And I won't tell you.
Bill might have seen this.
It has so many twists and turns, and I like comedies because
I like comedies too.
Yeah. I don't need that much drama. Occasionally, I like
hilarious. Yeah.
I like the English dramas. Like, I'm watching The Bodyguard.
Okay.
The great thing about the English mysteries and whodunits and shows like that is they never let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they get in and they get out. They do 6 episodes, 8 episodes, and that's it. Show's over. Okay. Whereas we're used to, 10 series of Friends and 14 series of Big Bang Theory. Tell the story and get out.
You should try the Designated Survivor again, because that guy's a healer, that president. Like, he has so many opportunities to hurt other people that have hurt him, and he just won't do it. Like, he's always looking for the good side. He's always looking for, like, I don't know. There is quite a bit of drama going on there.
Yeah, I only watched the first episode, and, there's so much television out there that
Well, we don't watch it, but it's getting winter time here, so suddenly it's like, let's sit in front of the TV and binge watch these shows at night.
Yeah. I did go and see A Star Is Born the other day at the cinema.
You did see it?
I did see it, yeah, and I'm going to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
We're going to see that one too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and this has been fun.
We resolved our guilt today.
Slate and a new beginning.
Yeah, we resolved our guilt today. Fantastic.
Exactly. Guilt is the killer.
Guilt is the killer. Rock it out.
Yeah. Love you.
See ya.